Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Liad. This week, I've been highlighting my modified CMYK palette, plus white. In my previous videos, I covered yellow and rose, and today we're diving into my replacement for cyan, phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is probably the biggest departure from the classic CMYK palette, and honestly, the most crucial modification. To really showcase this pigment, today's piece is a 9x12 oil painting on ABS. While it's not strictly monochrome, it is dedicated to phthalo blue. As I was putting this video together, I realized I neglected one key aspect of phthalo blue. It mixes with yellow to create some incredible greens. It's one of the most versatile aspects of the pigment. I didn't include green in today's painting, but I'll drop in an example from a previous piece so you can see what I mean. So, why swap out cyan for phthalo blue? Well, for starters, there isn't actually a cyan pigment. The closest thing would probably be cobalt teal, a stunning vibrant color. It's super chromatic, and you can't really mix an exact equivalent, which makes sense since it's a primary color. If you need a pure cyan, phthalo blue and everything else falls short. Cobalt teal also mixes beautifully with yellow for bright, rich greens and works well with rose, but because it leans green, it doesn't produce the best purples and violets. Here's the catch. Cobalt teal is a light value, opaque color. When you try to adjust its value or shift it towards the blue or purples, it quickly loses saturation, especially as it gets darker, and that's where phthalo blue shines. Phthalo blue is an amazing color, but it's notoriously tricky to use. It overpowers nearly every other pigment. People call it a bully color, and that is pretty accurate. A teeny bit, and I mean a very teeny bit, goes a long way in mixes. Straight from the tube, it's deep, dark, and intensely chromatic. Unlike cobalt teal, as you lighten phthalo blue, it retains a lot of its chroma. Because of this, it opens up color ranges that cobalt teal just can't mix, especially dark chromatic blues and violets. Now, phthalo blue doesn't produce greens as cleanly, and you can't mix a perfect cobalt teal equivalent, but you can get pretty close. And with a limited palette, that's the name of the game. You're constantly mixing, rarely using colors straight from the tube. Compared to cobalt teal, phthalo blue stands out as a more versatile choice. Right now, phthalo blue is the most adaptable and neutral blue I've worked with. It leans slightly green, but still creates fantastic purples and violets. There's also a red shade of phthalo blue, which, as the name suggests, leans more towards red. I haven't tried it yet, but I imagine it would improve the violets at the expense of the green mixes. Something I haven't touched on enough is why bother using a CMYK palette in the first place? Truthfully, a CMYK palette isn't the best at anything. If you want extreme minimalism, there's the Zorn palette with just 4 colors, or you could just go black and white or monochrome. If you want something more harmonious, natural, or packed with convenience colors, there's a palette for that too. If you want a wider range of color with more saturation, there's a palette for that too. But in my experience, CMYK offers the widest, most versatile range of colors in a limited palette. Personally, I've always preferred limited palettes. Too many colors and I either get overwhelmed or end up ignoring certain ones altogether. I'm not saying I can't handle a few extra colors, but once I hit double digits, things start feeling a bit chaotic. Using a CMYK palette has also improved my color mixing, color matching, and subtle color control. Another thing I haven't covered in these videos is drying time. I used to include raw umber on my palette, but it dries so fast it was driving me nuts. Sometimes fast drying is useful, but I like my paint to stay open longer, so it had to go. I also love the simplicity of a limited palette. When people ask me how to mix a certain color, the answer is usually some combination of all of them. The basic approach? Pick the primary closest to your target color, then adjust the brightness, darkness, warmth, or coolness by mixing in other colors as needed. Another bonus, oil paint is expensive. Fewer tubes means less expense and an easier time traveling with my setup. Plus, I don't switch palettes for different subjects. No matter what I'm painting, it's always the same colors. That said, it's important to recognize that palettes have inherent biases. If a palette naturally leans towards a particular color or temperature, it'll subtly push your work in that direction. My CMYK palette leans cool, so my paintings tend to have a cooler vibe, which I like. I naturally gravitate towards those tones. I don't enjoy painting very warm yellowish brown as much, and that's just personal taste. I do think it's valuable to stick with a palette for a while to really understand its strengths and limitations, but at the same time, experimenting with different colors and setups is essential for growth. Before I wrap up, I should probably talk about today's painting, and not just color theory. I kept this one simple. Phthalo blue is such a gorgeous color and looks so good dark. I desaturated her jacket a bit to contrast with her skin and the sky. The violets in her skin are a result of the reflected light from her lighter. I could have pushed those more towards the red, but I felt it would be too overpowering. Instead, I kept it in the purple-violet range and desaturated it slightly, so it feels integrated rather than artificial. And that's it for today's video. I hope you found this helpful and informative. If you want me to explore a specific palette, drop a comment. I might dedicate a painting or even a full week to it. What palette do you use? Are there any you're working towards mastering? If today's painting caught your eye, it's available on my website for a special price of $250. Go check it out. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Want to chat more about art? Join my Discord community or follow me on social media. Links in the description. Have an amazing week or weekend, and as always, happy painting.